Hi there everybody, welcome to our June routine of yoga for office workers. These are all exercises that we have in our busiest class that we run down at our studio in Macclesfield. They're all focused on releasing muscles around the pelvis today. So hopefully you guys can get a little bit of something from that. Obviously all the time we spent sat down, all of these muscles just around the hips and the lower back and the top of the legs can get really quite stiff. So it's really good practice to try and keep a little bit more movement into them if we can. As always, just a little bit of floor space to work with, that's all you're going to need. And we shall get going. So, first thing we shall do is we're going to come to seated and we're going to sweep your left leg behind you. I'm going to do my right, so I'm mirroring you guys. But you're going to turn your left leg. So I've got left foot pointing out to the wall on the left-hand side there. Okay. Whilst we're there now, you might find that you're leaning over a little bit to the right-hand side. So we want to make sure that this left hip gets down nice and low. So if you need to, put a little bit of pressure into that hip and you'll find that there are little sections that are tight. You'll find if you just hold a little bit of pressure on those tight areas, the muscle will relax. And it's almost like you're letting a tire down. Your body's just going to sink a little bit closer to the floor. If you find that you can't actually get that hip any lower, just place a block, a book, a cushion or something underneath the hip on the other side, and that will just level off your pelvis. Really important we get the pelvis nice and level for this. So, once you're confident that your hips are level, we're going to add a twist to this move. So we're going to take your right hand behind you, left hand onto the opposite knee, we get tall and we rotate. So whilst we rotate to begin with, you want to keep this hip down. That one we were working on before, you don't want to let it lift off the floor just yet. The hand that's behind you is helping you stay tall. And the hand that's on the knee is helping pull you round. So just breathe long, slow, deep breaths there. And you'll find the deeper the breath, the more you'll get from the stretch. Don't have to worry about particular breathing patterns. You just need to breathe long and slow. Every out breath you'll find that you can just move a little deeper into it. And after a little while, hopefully that stretch starts to ease. Might not be just yet, might be in a few moments. But when it does start to ease, we're going to take the twist even further. So you can now let this hip that we were getting down before, you can let it lift. You're almost pushing your thigh into the foot here. And you're trying to turn even further. You're still staying upright, that hand's not letting you lean back, but you can really rotate the body. So we're really stretching out the muscles that wrap around our sides. Should be mainly the right hand side that you're feeling most of the stretch, but that's not to say it's wrong to feel it anywhere else. Excellent. So when that stretch starts to ease, again you might want to hold it for a little bit longer, but when it does start to ease, you can untwist, try and get that hip back down, it'll probably be a little bit easier to do so. And what we're going to do, you can stay where you are, but you'll see this a little better side on, is we're going to take your hands out behind you, and you're going to try and lean back as far as you can. So your leg position hasn't changed, okay? That's exactly the same. Take the hands out behind you, and you'll find that eventually you start to get a good stretch down this front thigh. The only rule of this whole move is you keep this knee on the floor now. The foot that is next to the knee, we want to keep that knee down. If you can, you lean back onto your elbows, your forearms. And if you're feeling really flexible at the moment, you can even lower down all the way onto your back. Again, the only rule being you've got to keep that knee on the floor. And then we just need to breathe. So the longer, the deeper the breath, the more you're going to be able to ease into the stretch. And then when you're ready, bring yourself up. So that final phase is actually quite an advanced move really. It's quite hard to get into it. Don't be surprised if you want to stay up on your hands when you're doing that one. At most you might find that you can get down onto your forearms a little bit. So, from here, we've worked on the muscles of the front, we want to work on the muscles around the back a little bit. Just bring one foot forward. I'm going to bring my left foot forwards now. You want to place it on the floor in front of the hands with your toes lifted up to the ceiling. So this leg is nice and straight. If you can't quite get it straight or the hands can't quite get to the floor, again, just place a block, a book, a cushion, anything you've got just to rest your hands so that you can get this leg straight, okay? Do it next to a sofa, rest your hands there if you need to, it's fine. But we want to try and keep these toes lifted as high as possible, and we're going to get a great stretch all the way down the back of that left leg. You'll find the best place for your right knee is just directly underneath your right hip. You're going to take most of your body weight that way. And we're just folding forwards. Trying to think about taking essentially your knee down, your nose somewhere down towards your knee. And the final thing to think about is keeping your hips square. Temptation will be to kind of lean and stick your bum out to the side. Try not to let it happen. Keep everything in nice straight lines. And don't expect to get your nose to your knee, by the way. That's just something to aim for. Spine is nice and long. And we can release from there. So when we release, obviously you guys are going to do the other side, but it's quite a good way of transitioning into the next move, which is bringing the foot first of all underneath the knee. We then wiggle that left foot over to the right hand side and tuck it underneath the right hip. And we're going to slide the leg back. So you've got one foot now tucked underneath your hip. The other leg is just extended nice and far behind you. We're going to get up as high as we can. And this will be giving us a bit of a stretch into the abdomen a little bit there. It might also be stretching into the hip or the outside of this leg. It might even be stretching the front of your back leg into the hips. So keep your head and chest up nice and high. And this is most likely enough for all of you. But if any of you do want to take this a little bit further, there's the option to reach back with your left hand, hold on to that right foot, keep your head and chest high, and that'll just increase the stretch down the front of the thigh and into the hip. But you absolutely don't need to go there. If you would rather, just leave the leg out behind you and support your body weight with the arms. Again, blocks, cushions, or anything to support your body in the hands if you want. And then when we're finished there, you can just bring that left foot back in line. Then you'll find your knees will easily come back together. And we're done. Okay, so obviously you guys are going to repeat that through on the other side as well. But they have, again, 3 exercises that are opening up through the abdomen, the hips, the back of the legs. Really just going to release the pelvis a little bit more. Have a work with those for the next month, and I shall see you in July with some more exercises. Thanks a lot.